a 6-page research paper.
We're just gonna build the platform and.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Dev.
That's the challenge.
Support equals support.
I'm trapped in New Mexico, you know, and
Stay beautiful. Stay beautiful. Stay beautiful.
You guys got beef? Go on. Beat the fuck out of each other.
That's the jail talk.
What's up, everybody? Stev here. Bridging the gap. Did you like my kung fu judo, very basic level intro?
What if you would have just spilt, bro? Like if you just hit
Like
this
I just
table
went what?
and just busted your whole shit. We're still going on with this show. You got to get up with a busted
Yeah,
face.
he's
and
on like
everything.
blood down my face. I'd probably be like the same mentality I have now, where I'd just be like talking. There's blood dripping on my face. No one at one point be like, "Are you all right?" "Yeah, man, I feel fine." I'd pass out. All right, we gotta keep talking for another 20 minutes till the show's over, guys. So, yeah. So as y'all know, it is Veterans Day, and we have our special guest from the Armchair Referees podcast. If you haven't listened to the Armchair Referees podcast, you should go do that. Right
Episode 11 just dropped.
12.
Shameless
12.
plugs.
Sorry about that.
Shameless plugs.
I can't even keep up with my episodes anymore. I can't even keep up with my episodes
That's
anymore.
why
Yeah.
you hired our company. to handle
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
Exactly.
let's be real, man. Without having a list for the restream thing, be honest with you, I probably wouldn't remember what number we're on. Like I'd have to cross-reference every time. Like, where are we at? Like carry the 7 and do that on our hands.
Either way, episode 12 just dropped. Check us out. Me and my co-host, Chip Bayless. But we aren't talking about that today.
Yeah, well, we might. But we also want to bring up the fact that Nolan is a veteran, and I would like for him to kind of give us the story of how he served, and even if it's not like he killed 70 men and like carried 12 people on his back or something crazy like we hear
No,
about all the time.
I didn't win any medals or anything like that. It was the basic to the point,
Yeah.
average
Military
for the most
experience.
part. For the most part, I was getting ready to graduate high school, and I'm like, well, the only job experience I have is working on a farm, and that's about it. I wasn't going to go to college. I ain't smart enough for that shit.
Wait, didn't you go to like a school for cars or something?
I tried Wyotech there for about a month, and
Yeah,
I'm like, you know what, this just isn't for me. So I'm like, I got nothing. I don't have a job. I'm gonna enlist in the Army. So I went and swore in 2012. Joined the United States Army. I was a reservist out of Altoona, Pennsylvania. I was part of the 298th. Got out February of 2016.
Mm. 4
Did
years.
Did 4.5 years. Did plenty of traveling, seeing California, but went to Germany, California, Georgia, Virginia, South Carolina, Texas.
Those last 3 states, they're all pretty much the same state.
Oh, almost. It's the South. It's warm.
I was throwing a jab at you, Georgia. Come get me. Anyway.
Was there any time during that time, all that traveling? I don't think we were like there was obviously things in Afghanistan, and other things going on. Was there any time that you could have been sent somewhere?
There was a few times where our unit was told, "Hey, this might be a thing." I think it was like my second year in. I believe it was my second year in. It was our turn for the rotation. So the way the reserves work is, you go through a rotation. Once you get passed by, you have to wait again until your rotation comes in. And there was a possibility of us being called up. It just never happened. We were preparing for it.
I mean, what, go to like Iraq or like Afghanistan?
It would have been Afghanistan whenever I was whenever it was our rotation. But no, my unit hasn't deployed since 09. I think it was 09, and I still have a few Army buddies from my unit. I still work with one of my guys. I still keep up with most of the guys I served with, or went to basic training with, or went to AIT with. Shout out Tyler Carter, Lawrence Spear,
I thought you
Jim
said
France.
I thought you said a guy's name was Shadow for a second. I mean, that's a badass name. Like that guy should have been like in the Marines or something. Like
G.I.
name
Joe.
like
Wasn't there a G.I. Joe character named Shadow? or something?
Yeah, now it's good. Storm Shadow.
Storm
Shadow.
Yeah.
Oh heck, I served with a guy whose last name was Merca. So
Merca.
you know,
Merca.
I used to tell him all the time that he should have went green to gold and became an officer just so he can make it to captain and be Captain Merca, because that'd been the greatest thing ever. But
Captain Merca. So when you were discharged, like
yeah, I was medically discharged.
Okay.
I screwed up my knees and my back, and I have no cartilage left in my right ankle. I have fragment tears in every single ligament in both my knees, and then I have 3 slip discs in my lower back, 2's crushing 1.
And this was from what, training?
Just rigorous stuff. Some stuff that was leading up to it before I got in, and stuff like that. It was towards the tail end during Obama's administration. They were looking for ways to get certain people out, and his administration was trying to cut the standing military in half. So that's with all 4 branches combined.
I actually do remember what you're saying.
So
Obama.
I just so happened to be one of those guys that they knew I was hurt, they knew that I was injured, and they came up to me, told me that I was going to be discharged, that they were looking to medically discharge me. And at that point in time, the Army started changing a little bit there for me. They were moving into a direction that I wasn't comfortable with. It was one of those things where when I enlisted, I got this thought and this vision of basic training being like this Full Metal Jacket.
Full
thing.
Metal Jacket. Okay, well,
That's what I pictured. That's what I pictured.
Private Pyle shooting himself in the dome ski. Before you continue with this story, because that's such a great point, I just want to say, hey, what's going on, Catherine? Mike Lowther. Hey, how's it going? Mike's back, by the way. Mike, you're not on this show right now.
But we seen you. I seen you guys been working.
Yeah,
so
we've seen the videos.
You're hopping out and still doing your job, man. We respect y'all for that.
Yeah, but anyway, go ahead.
When I went through basic training, it was nothing like that. It was not like we got smoked a few times. Like you had to do some push-ups, but it wasn't
The
like
structure,
that.
you mean? Like the structure that you think, like growing up seeing.
Like, don't get me
movies
wrong,
and
there
stuff?
was structure there, but that's whenever you had a good set of NCOs and a good set of higher up people. If you don't have that nowadays, I feel in the military, it's not what it used to be. Because my father served, both my grandparents served, and I got an uncle that was a career Marine. Heck, when 9/11 happened, this guy was in his 60s and he tried to re-enlist. This is how much of a diehard Marine this guy was.
Right.
It was just a different thing. They were introducing stress cards back and
Stress cards?
stress cards. So basically, it's a 2-sided card. I think it's yellow and red. I'm not 100% sure, but basically, the recruits pull out this card and you have to leave them alone. You can't touch them. Can't yell at them anymore. You have to leave them alone.
Oh,
Wait, what?
drill sergeants? Like I was
Like
gonna
a
ask,
timeout?
did you
Like I
have
need
a
a
It's
drill?
basically a timeout. Yeah, it's a timeout. And I'm like, well, that's the point of basic training. Because most of these guys, and anybody
You're not
that's
getting
thinking
a
about,
timeout.
yeah, let me explain something. Any of these people thinking about enlisting or anything like that, basic training is meant to stress you out, not only physically but mentally. They're preparing you for what's going to happen in combat. Because I've explained it to so many of these people. Me personally, I'm not going to dive into too much, but the enemy's not going to care if you're stretched out.
Hey, hold on my yellow card. Yellow card, and like the terrorists, like, oh man, we can't shoot at them no more.
It's not going to work that
Stress
way.
card. Get your stress card.
They're going to walk up to your foxhole. They're going to put a bullet in your head.
Right.
And they're going to chop it off, and they're going to have it on CNN the next day. That's the way that's the way this world
Wait, has
works.
CNN actually ever aired like someone's head on a pike before?
Like,
They
probably
blurred
not,
it out.
but like
They have the footage.
Yeah, the footage. I'm just saying
they
they
probably
have
have
it
the footage. I doubt they like aired it or anything like that, but it's definitely been talked about.
Catherine Dawn wanted to say thank you for your service.
I appreciate you, thank you, but there's plenty of men and women that are still doing it right now that have done a heck of a lot more than I have. So,
Right.
And it brings to, like, the reason why I asked you about the discharge part, and then we're going to go into two sides of that, because when I actually grow, like, I don't agree, to me, I'm not into politics that much. I like talking about it, but I'm not into, because I just think it's bullshit. But during the time that Obama was there, though, also I noticed in his first 4 years, he exposed that the VA hospitals were trash, and he started putting money in that. I granted that
not
they were
enough.
cutting costs and all that, but what I seen was ridiculous, because I worked in a field around homelessness and drug and alcohol, and this one day I just kept seeing people that had veteran status. And I was like, well, so I did some research and found out that 1 in 4 homeless person is a veteran.
yeah.
And I don't understand that to this day, like how vets are treated when they're not being useful no more. Like they're not enlisted, or they got the very basic minimums that I think that should be fixed. That should be they should be getting way more if you're going over there and putting your service in, and you're doing what you signed up to do, and you should be taking care of it. What do you think in those type incidents? What do you think needs to be changed?
Well, the first thing is that whenever these guys are getting out and getting their DD-214s, okay, so the DD-214 is basically that's your release papers. That's your
You're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're no longer owned.
You're not. I like that. You're no longer
You're
owned.
free.
I see your jab at the military there.
Yeah.
Well, it's a contract. It's a contract. Whenever you enlist, you
You're selling
you
4 years.
dedicate. You're either given 3 or 6.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to serve out a 6-year contract. That's what I signed up for. It was a 6x3. So
Because I was sitting there.
I mean, a 6x2. So 6 years active service, and then you have a 2-year ghost contract where at any point in time they can call you back up. Now, because I was medically discharged, like that's a whole different
It's gone. Right. It's kind of like in the NFL, like if you have contracts or whatever, like there's all these little stipulations and things that, like with the AB thing, where it voided the contract because he was a detriment to the team and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
thing. Well, heck, you can get court-martialed by getting a sunburn in the military.
yeah, which is kind of crazy.
Your body is military property.
Right.
That's the way it
So they
works.
want you in a tip-top shape.
Like-
So is that cause problems for you for getting help? Some help you need when you're discharged. Let me ask
Yeah,
this first.
so, like,
when you're discharged, do you still get benefits, like medical and all that?
Yeah, I had the option for them. So, like, I don't go to the VA anymore. I had a bad experience my first year after I got out. I just felt like I wasn't being taken care of enough, so I quit going. And that, now, from what I've heard, it's been improving, but I just haven't gone back.
That's kind of crazy. Okay, so I mean, would you be willing to share like the experience? You don't like list names or a hospital. I'm just kind of curious. Like,
It was just, I was having severe pain between, whenever bone's rubbing on bone in my ankle,
right.
and then my knees are swelling up to the size of grapefruits.
I remember that there was a day when you got discharged that me and you walked to Walmart and you were walking like this around like we were going into Walmart late night.
Yeah, there's certain days like that. I quit doing factory work because I was on my feet for 12 hours out of the day, and my knees and my ankle and my back just couldn't. It couldn't do it anymore for me.
Right.
Like I remember there was one day where it's now an ex-girlfriend, but she had to practically pick me up out of my couch and help me up my stairs because I could barely even walk. When my knees are swollen up to the size of grapefruits and I got bone-on-bone rubbing because I have absolutely zero cartilage left in my ankle, and I got 3 slipped discs in my lower back, and I'm dealing with pain on a daily basis, and my doctor kept on looking at me and telling me, oh, well, we'll give you this all-natural painkiller that doesn't do jack for me.
Right.
And doesn't take any of my swelling down. So basically I was eating ibuprofen like it was, Tic Tacs.
But I mean, like ibuprofen would do something over these guys are like, here, we'll give you this natural thing.
Yeah, but the only problem is now I suck down so much ibuprofen, I've sucked down so much Advil and Tylenol,
mess with your kidney.
it doesn't do anything for me anymore.
Yeah.
The only thing it does do is take down my swelling, but it doesn't do anything for my pain.
So do we think like in the VA and the military, did they try to stay away from opiates?
I think I think that was the one thing. Now I finally at one point in time I got a doctor. I was on lower tabs there for a while. Mm-hmm. I was on lower tabs for about a year, and I ended up getting off the lower tabs because it started turning into a want instead of a need.
Right.
So I started wanting them instead of needing them, and I'm like, you know what? I got to get off these things. And since then, I haven't taken a painkiller. Basically, I've just been dealing with pain. You know,
So your experience was you just don't think that they were handling your case.
Yeah, I think they were
proper way.
Instead of taking a case by case basis, they were just lumping it all together and being like, "Oh, it's all one thing."
Yeah.
You know, and that's just my experience. Now, like, you know, as I said, from what I heard, it's gotten a little bit better, but I just don't want to go back. I don't want to deal with the headache or anything like that, or having to find another team to get on, or because that's the way the VA does it. They put you on a team, and that doctor handles that team. So
do you think they need to? That needs to be something that needs to be improved on.
I think the team aspect is a great thing. You know, it's just, to me, I think they need to handle a case by case basis. But I think at the same time that also is up to the doctor as well if that's handling that team.
Right.
So, but as I said, whenever these guys are getting out and getting their DD-214s, because not a lot of these guys are going to end up going to college. Most of them do. Don't get me wrong. Most of them do. But guys like me that had absolutely zero will or desire to actually go to college or use their GI Bill or anything like that, I think they need to.
Tell this man about high school. You in high school.
What?
Tell him about high school.
What do you mean?
Like how high school went for you.
Me like never going to school?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, you had no desire to go to school.
I barely showed up my senior year. I missed like 60 some odd days of my senior year. Like I barely went to school. I had no desire to ever go to school, and I never have and never will.
So that was your option. Like, was it somebody bring that to your attention, like your parent or guidance counselor or something?
I had always wanted to join the military.
Oh, okay.
It was one of those things where that's what I knew. Is that my father served, both my grandparents served. I got an uncle that he's not actually my uncle, but he's a family. You know,
he's close enough to be your uncle.
He's one of those people
Like
that's
your
always been
dad's
around.
friend.
I always knew him as Uncle John because
Right.
to my mother he was Uncle John, and it said he was a career Marine. It was just something I always wanted to do. That, and at the same time, whenever I was getting out of high school, the only job experience I had was pulling tits. So, like, you know,
Pulling titties. That's right.
Clarify that for some of
I
our city
was
listeners.
milking cows.
Milking cows.
Clarify that for a minute so we don't get.
So like someone's like, what do you mean pulling tits? We get like Donald Trump to the 11, and like
it
they're
was-
saying like got like sex conspiracies and whatever.
It was one of those things where I had zero job, like I almost no work experience. I knew farming wasn't going to take me that far, just being a worker. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I'm like, I need something. Joined the Army. It was giving me a paycheck, for one, and two, it looks great on a resume. Sometimes it looks great on a resume. It all depends on what the heck you're applying for. Now, most companies around here, I could say, most of them will give a veteran a fair shake. Mm-hmm. And
Is it because of the area? So you're saying like maybe like if you had somebody like a company that's not
let's put it this way.
supporting
So
the
like, I think most of the people that are currently serving on a base or anything like that, the closer you get to a military installation, they're just like, yeah, whatever. And because I noticed that whenever I was in Virginia, the closer I was to a military installation, people were just like, you know, yeah, whatever.
Probably because they see
They
soldiers
see them all
day.
the time. So
Right.
to them, they see the good, the bad, in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And we all know how it works. Most of the time, the negative sticks in the back of your mind instead of the positive.
Right, and-
That's just the way it is.
And I think too, we got to think about like this, that veterans, when I hear the term veteran and everything, we think of the respect and everything, and we automatically almost assume good people. But some people, no matter in what thing they do,
It's just like in real life.
Yeah, not everybody's a good person.
I could say I was blessed by being able to serve in the military because I've met so many different people from different walks of life.
Right.
That have really helped me understand and has really helped me now. So, and the job I do now,
Oh yeah,
and the job I do now, it really helps me. Being a CEO, a corrections officer, you are going to walk in and see so many different people from different walks of life, no matter what. Some people
Most
are
of which-
innocent, they're in there.
Most
Some
of them-
people aren't. But you have to be able to understand and also deal with those people on a daily basis.
it's a hostile environment, and most of the people there don't like you. Like because they have a thing against you because they don't want to be there, and you have to basically keep them there. So.
That, and, most of them are there for not being able to follow rules. And, there's certain rules that have to be followed there as well.
Do you think CO is on the list of one of the high jobs that an Army person, or not just Army?
I would have to say yes, because a lot of my buddies that I used to serve with are now COs. Most of them are upstate, doing, having a position at a state person. But yeah, I would have to say that's
One of the high ones, yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a desirable, but it's one of the easier ones.
The ones you're probably going to
vets to get
easily
into.
get accepted.
Yeah, it's one of the it's police, corrections, something along those lines.
Right.
I got a former captain of mine that contacts me once a year about going into civilian contracting. And
Civilian contracting, what's that?
so basically civilian contractors, they're giving
like security type of
yeah,
advice.
basically it's security. It's armed security overseas.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay.
So
That's a huge job for.
it is a huge job. Now, like me personally, I've almost taken it a few times. My wife won't let me. So like,
yeah, 'cause you're
especially
gonna be
now,
gone.
my wife won't let me. We got 3 kids at the house right now. My wife would lose her mind if I was gone 3 months at a time.
Yeah, she'd go
So-
nuts. Although you were saying you need an excuse to get out of the house a little bit more right now. So.
I think that's a little bit more
I
than
think
getting out
that's
of
a
the
little
house.
I don't know that
little bit.
paycheck. The paycheck's got to be good though, huh? Doing the civilian work, and that's another thing I wanted to get at. I get it, like everybody, like our soldiers, like it's very prideful people. They feel like they're towing the line. They're blue collar workers. The pay of it to me also, like I see the advantages, but I also see that it's just not like the way of it, because I thought about it when I was younger too. I was actually trying to avoid the law, but they quickly told me that you can't go if you have a pending charge. So I was trying to dip out of the country. But I seen the gist of it, and I seen how it works. And if you get out, I guess if you utilize it very well, it's a great thing. But like you said, you might not. I'm sure we have a lot of people that that's all they're gonna do is just go there, serve, get the paycheck, and maybe not know how to work the
When
programs.
I enlisted, and Devin can back this up, I was going to be a lifer when I enlisted, and the longer I served, I realized this is a completely different thing.
Yeah, right. I mean, you
The
were talking
army,
about
the army has
BS.
become a lot of. It's political in
Right.
a way, and that's not how the army should be. There should be absolutely zero politics in the military, if you ask me.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, you gotta understand the military is about enforcing and acting upon the legislation of political officials. So, like,
We get told where to go,
Yeah.
where to be, and where to go. That's
right?
the way it
But I
works.
mean, like, they're gonna
Not the
say
reasoning.
right. But I mean, I think
Not a very clearly reason.
you never ask why.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah, but you're just being told what to do. Although there are things like it's actually a war crime to do things that you're like that are like not like say if a commanding officer or you get a message from the Pentagon to do something that's very almost unlawful or like it's a war crime, you're supposed to not do that. And I say that only
At the
because well, here's what I want to say.
At the end of the day, you get an order, you do it. You don't ask why, you don't ask any questions, you just do it. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the person giving the order is going to be the one that's going to have to answer for it.
Right. But
wait.
But,
So you're saying if I was the in charge, general or whatever, and I told you a group or team of guys to go do something like Dev said that was unlawful war crime, you guys wouldn't be held accountable, only I would?
yeah, because you're just gonna be like, yeah, shoot these kids, but like, and you're sitting there like, oh, we shouldn't do this. I'm not saying that has to happen, but I mean, I've seen the thing play out where like
You're trained not to think. You're trained to do. That's the whole thing. Everything that the Army does is muscle memory. They're going to train you to do, not to think, just do. So it's split second natural reaction.
Right.
So whenever I was a little fucking peon as an E2, and one of my sergeants told me to go do something, there was no questions asked. It wasn't, oh, do I really have to do this, or can I do it after this?
Oh.
No, it was, you go and do it.
Right.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying, I was saying it in more sense when things get serious. Because, yeah, I mean, like, I understand that mentality where, like, you're in basic or wherever you're at.
That mentality carries throughout your whole entire military career.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the basic level, and then whenever, like, you're in combat, you have to listen to the CO. But I'm saying, like, whenever a CO's, like, tells you to do something, like, where, like, everybody, not just you, but, like, everybody within your squad's like, that's kind of up. Like, I kind of don't want to do that. Like it's a moral mental thing. Like, that's what I'm saying, because there's things like, oh, I don't want to do this, which I agree there shouldn't be any question there. It should just be do it, right? But then there's
if you're in the middle of something, that's the furthest thing away from your mind. When bullets are whizzing past your head and the shit's really hitting the fan, you're just reacting at the end of the day. Like, we're trained, if you're shooting a 249, you're trained to peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly. You're trained to burst that rifle.
Right, it's repetition.
Yeah.
The Army is just like football. Everything is repetition.
It's muscle memory.
Teach you where you don't think, like he's saying, you just react. And then it becomes that nature. And I think what we're trying, I think we just seen something in this case where there was some people that were, I think Trump gave them pardons, or he's about to. That had some war crime things in that were going on, and they got some pardons for it.
I haven't really paid attention to too much politics. I've tried to steer away from politics wise.
Right. I just think it's a tricky thing. Even if you're going,
it is a tricky thing.
If you're telling, like, I'm telling you to go do something, like Dev said, it's morally wrong. And what we're saying, like, also is like, you don't think about the morality until later. Do we think that a lot of these people, I think personally, because I've talked to a lot of them when I worked at a homeless shelter, and they told me some things that they said that they would never repeat if I told somebody and they came and asked them. But they felt comfortable that I wouldn't say anything. So they said some of their problems was issues of some of the things that they've done. That in that scenario, you said shit's hitting the fan, you make some fucked up decisions and mistakes and shit happens. Now you come home with that, and now you carry that around with you the rest of your life. And I think that's where I see that the problem lies right there, is that I feel like this. It's just like, I always compare everything to football, even though I know the Army's not anything to football. It's just like when they're done with you, if you're hurt, they're done with you. They're trying to get you off their books so they don't have to take care of you or anything outside of if you can't perform anymore. And I think that's what happens to veterans.
It used to be I don't know what the VA is, but sometimes it still feels like it's a rinse and a repeat kind of thing.
Right.
Where, they rinse off the bad and they bring in the new. Rinse off the bad, bring in the new.
Yeah.
So the bad is the damaged, and it's the damaged. These damaged men and women that can no longer serve, can no longer do their job, and they're just going to bring in the next 18-year-old kid.
Right.
So it's
reload.
That's basically what it is. It's just a rinse and repeat kind of thing. And from what I heard, the VA is getting a little bit better, but that's still not helping out the guys that are on the street begging for change to be able to just buy a loaf of bread just so they can feed for the next 2 days or so.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things. Is that I think whenever these guys are getting these DD-214s, the military needs to be trying to help these guys on one, finding a job whenever they get back fucking home, either if they're going to stay wherever the heck they were stationed or if they're going to go back home.
Right.
Or at the same time, they need to make sure that they're going to have somewhere to live, you know, whenever they get out or something kind of like that.
I agree
Not all
totally.
the time is it going to be one of those things where most of these guys have a family to go back to. Not all these guys, not all these men and women have a family to go back to.
Right.
Go back to and lean on whenever they do get out and stuff like that. So we need to have a better system on not only helping these guys find jobs whenever they do get out,
Re-entry
at the same,
programs. Yeah.
they need a better way to retransition most of these guys back into civilian life.
Right.
You know,
I agree totally, and I think it should be above. I think it should be above just the average American's help. Mm-hmm. It should be above. It shouldn't be parallel with that, because I feel if you sign up, I don't care why you signed up. If you did it, you go there and you did your part in your job and what makes this country so great and be able to protect us, to be able to do things like this, that we're able to do these things. I think you should be rewarded for that, not just hey, thanks for serving. You know, to me, I look at because I have veterans in my family. They don't talk about a lot of that stuff. You know, they take pride in it. My grandfather used to, a couple times a year, he would press up. My grandma would press up all of his stuff, get him looking nice, and he would just go out there with his head high. He didn't ask for anything. You know, he didn't ask for any special treatment. He busted his ass, and I always used to ask him, like, you know, like, what is it, like, why don't you like take, I'm not saying not take pride, but why don't you have those conversations when somebody says thanks for your service and they're just giving you like, hell, he's just like kind of brushes it off and says, I was just doing my job. There's other people out there, you know, that could, that type stuff. And I just never really got a flat out answer from him what it was.
To me, whenever, like, you know, people come up and be like, thank you for your service, or they find out that, like, you know, I served or anything like that, it's not the reason I served. The reason I served is because I love my country and I wanted to serve my country. And at the end of the day, we were just doing a job, and that's all it was. Because you aren't going to walk up to the janitor at the high school and be like, you know, thank you for doing your job or anything like that. Because that's basically what we're doing. We're doing a job. Yeah, we're going a little bit more above and beyond than most people, but at the end of the day, like, not all of us want to be like a John Burke or anything like that. You know, I'm not hating on John Burke whatsoever. I actually enjoy watching his videos and listening to his podcasts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But not all of us want to take that platform and be, hey, look at me. I've always been that guy besides my podcast, you know, but at the same time, I'm a low-key guy. That's
hard for me to believe because Nolan is a fucking ball of energy, man. Like, this dude is energy. But I wanted to
around
the
select
conversation.
people.
But I agree with that. Sometimes I always think about what constitute as, because, like, yeah, like, I give respect, but, you know, I think I have a philosophy where, you know, like, you treat the CEO like you treat the janitor versus, like, when you treat the soldiers. Now, in a way, I feel like I would have more respect for the people that were, like, from World War II that went in the draft because they had no choice. Like, the military nowadays.
Well, it's the same thing with Vietnam. Vietnam was a draft war.
Yeah, right, and that's what I mean. Is like I have more respect for those vets. I'm not saying like any disrespect to like you or other veterans, but like now the military almost feels like a job. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what you're signing up for.
You can make a career out of it if you really want to.
Right.
That's the thing. It all depends on what you want to do. Whenever I was in the military, I was taking every single training I could get my hands on. Mm-hmm. And that's why I got to travel a little bit more than what the average reservist could travel. And it's because I was taking a training. They were like, hey, you got this training here. Do you want to go do it? Yeah, let's do this. You know, not only was I getting paid to go do it, but I was learning something. I was learning a little bit more. I took 3 stages of combatives. I quit after the third stage because after the third stage, they got guys built like Mongo out there.
Mongo?
And they're hitting you back with full force, and I got my bell rung a few times. I'm like, I'm good. I ain't doing this no more. But new weapons that were possibly going to come into rotation. Me as my MOS, I was 91 Foxtrot, I was a small artillery repair. That means I was taught how to make modifications and also repair from everything from a 9mm BB gun to a 777 howitzer.
Like in the heat, in the battle, like you.
Not only repair during battle, but at the same time, it's bring it into the shop and then
you
fix it up,
modify.
make modifications, put a new ACOG sight on it or a red dot or something kind of like that, or like I want a foregrip on my barrel, stuff like that. My MOS was in charge of putting that on. If the average soldier put that on, they could actually get in trouble. That's what we're there to do. We're there not only to make the modifications, but also to make the correct repairs. So if they were having an issue, or the gun keeps on jamming, they don't fix it themselves. They bring it to us, and then we fix it. That's the way it works. But the other thing is, most of these states also need to transition some of these MOSs into being actual jobs, because in the civilian side of it. In the civilian side of my MOS, I'd be a gunsmith. That would be my transition for my job. But in the state of Pennsylvania, that doesn't transfer over.
What?
I would technically have to go to school and relearn my job all over.
Even though you already knew it.
That's where it comes in. I think where a lot of the things that I see where I'm like things are different. Different states are handling things differently, and it's putting people in positions where they can't. What do you do? Oh, I gotta leave and go to another state to do something.
They either have my MOS transfer over into a civilian life or go to school. I don't want to go to school and relearn everything I already learned.
Yeah, that should be like credit.
That should be.
To me, it's very simple. Like, it's a stroke of the pen for whatever reasons they don't
example,
do these things.
88 mics. An 88 mic in the Army is a truck driver. Okay. Certain states, they will let you transfer that over to get your CEL, and you can be a truck driver on
Certain
civilian
states.
side. Certain
That's
states.
what's wrong.
State of Pennsylvania isn't one of them.
Right.
So whenever these veterans are coming home and they just spent how much time as an 88 mic driving trucks over in Afghanistan, Iraq, and all
now
around
they got to
the
come back
country,
and figure they got
to
to
pay for
and
a
now they got to
CDL
go to
truck and a
school
rental.
and go get their CDLs if they want to continue to drive trucks.
That's the type of stuff right there where the politics
makes
come
no
in.
sense.
The politicians come in, and whatever reason why it's just not simple. It's the United States. If you're in the Army, it's very simple to me. If you did something in that Army, you should be able to get a job, re-entry. If you don't get the job right away, like it takes some time or whatever, you should be taken care of until you get that position.
Now, to change this up a little bit, to add in, I think that's where you have people like entrepreneurs that need to come in and do stuff about that. Because what it is the testing and time it takes to do those things and get those things. There needs to be like business people out there that say, oh, look at these military vets who have experience doing this. Let me pay for his CDL or something to get that worker. So
yeah, there's multiple ways to do it. Multiple
that way,
Well,
because there's people that are very talented and have the right qualifications.
There are still some companies for, like, we'll say on the CDL side, there's still some companies that will be like, we'll pay for your CDLs, we'll pay for your schooling and everything, but you owe us a certain amount of time with us.
Yeah, but that's
start
that's
going
fair.
into another contract.
Right.
Yeah, well,
basically.
in a way.
But I mean,
so,
like entrepreneur gives you that opportunity. I think it's fair. And realistically,
for example,
there's no like they're not going to sign your soul away and they're not going to revoke your CDL, obviously, because that's like impossible.
Is there tax breaks for people that hire veterans?
I think so.
I believe there is. I believe there is. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe there is. There's a tax break for just about everything nowadays.
Yeah,
so like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta go talk to the people at H&R Block. Yeah, shameless plug, H&R Block. I'm sending the invoice, by the way, for that
got a lot of
advertising.
invoices
But
to send
anyway,
out.
I did want to come back to the conversation we were talking about earlier. That says military members disobey orders at their own risk, but they also obey them at their own risk. So any order to commit a crime that is unlawful, which would be like if you go to a court martial or whatever, I mean, like, and they determine it's unlawful, then not just the CO, but the people who were involved in that act, a crime, and an unlawful act or a crime, are also held responsible. I went and looked it up just to be sure.
I think the actual CO is probably going to be. He's going to get away with more than the actual person that did.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to be the other way around. He's going to get most of the heat, because he gave
But
the order.
I get that, but
it
I'm saying
probably
like who's
depends.
actually going to get the
Right.
bad end of the stick is going to be the lower person.
Right.
We know that just how the world works.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all going to depend on what the crime was and what they did. You know,
Because they'll hide it so
but
well.
at the same time, we haven't heard anything about like that in a while.
oh yeah,
In a while.
I mean, fair. I'm just saying in the
The
event that it
closest
happens.
thing I just heard was like what we were talking about. You said you didn't follow politics, but the crimes that they're accusing these people of were pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it turned out or kept on it, but it was pretty bad. But he wasn't the person that ordered it. He was the person you didn't hear anything about. Because like you said, you're getting orders from somebody, but this person was, I guess, just the average regular soldier that carried out some orders, and it got deemed that it was unlawful and it was a war crime. But you never heard anything about the person that gave the orders during that whole time. So that's what I'm trying to kind of get at right there. Like
we're trained to obey orders.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what we're trained to do. You know. I was never put in a situation where I was given an order of something I didn't agree with.
Right.
That was against my morals or anything like that. But
which I'm assuming is the experience for most people in the military.
I
was just bringing that up as like that hypothetical situation, which has occurred in the past, just maybe not at the rate as we've seen it.
Yeah. As I haven't heard anything that bad lately, but it's at the same time I don't really follow politics.
Yeah.
You know, I know for a fact I'm going to vote for Trump again because Trump's my boy. I voted for Trump my first time.
Says Trump's my boy.
I love Trump. I'm on that Trump train 2020.
What's he doing? Let's talk about that. You opened that door for that. What is he doing for the vets right now?
Well, from what I understand, he's the big reason that the VA has actually started to really change, and that's in the past 4 years. In the past 4 years, because I got out on the tail end. I got out of the tail end of Obama's administration. His
Right.
last year is the last year I got out of my military career. And from what I understand, over the past 4 years, Trump has actually made the VA a hell of a lot better of a place, and he's actually thrown a heck of a lot more funding into the VA. Don't get me wrong, Trump needs to stay off Twitter. You know, they need to just take that man's phone, but
Put a lock on it.
he's doing more good than he does bad, and that's why I don't pay attention to politics. Because the first 2 years, all I seen was every single Fox News and Democrat and all this other stuff just wanting to bring out every bad thing he did instead of showing the good things he did.
Wait. Rewind, pause real quick. Fox News did not say anything bad about Donald Trump. If anything, they said that Donald Trump pisses gold and that he is the eternal God blessed.
Okay, whichever one is fucking like,
We're talking about
Democrat.
CNN.
CNN. Either way, the point
That's
is,
just
I
the
don't
way
watch
it is. It doesn't matter. Other way around, it's still going to
Yeah,
go
right.
I
the
don't
same
watch
way.
Even if they
I
had
think
like,
he just gave enough ammo for them to do it. That's why it's getting done.
I don't watch
like
CNN.
They're
I
giving
don't watch
him,
Fox News.
They're
Listen.
giving news clips every night.
if Hillary Clinton got the nomination for the Republican Party, which is, I'm saying something absurd, Fox would be like, Hillary Clinton is the greatest. She never has done anything wrong in her life.
That's both ways.
That's
What
why-
CNN
And Kyle,
does
it's
for
just
doing
because I'm wearing a hat, bro. It's just because I'm wearing a hat. I'm not falling asleep over here, man. When I look down or something, like I'm looking at him, you just don't see I got a hat on. Like, wait, when you turn it backwards, look, I'm awake, bro. I'm up.
I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch CNN. I barely even pay attention to the local news.
Yeah, me too.
I don't pay attention to it because I know what I'm going to hear.
So how do you make an informed decision to say that he's...
You do your own research.
Okay, so
And then
you're
I-
saying
as
so you do follow politics. You're not following mainstream.
Yeah, I'm not
news
watching-
media getting your
yeah.
politics. Oh, okay.
So, like,
that's different.
I still talk to my veteran buddies that go to the VA
right,
and stuff like that. I still work with a few veterans.
right.
I work with my first ever squad leader that I ever had in the military. Shout out to Jim Franz. It's just the way it is. So whenever they're telling me things are getting better, if I'm getting firsthand knowledge from these guys that are still going to the VA, and they're saying these things are leap and bounds over the way it was 4 years ago. And that's because he's putting funding into it, and that's been documented numerous times that he's changed the VA's funding. He's increased it. So he's making it easier for not only for us to get our medical expenses and the medical services that we need. Things are changing for the better. Now, I think some of that money should also be possibly going into VA veteran housing as well. But, one step at a time, baby steps. None of this stuff is going to change overnight.
Right.
And
Yeah, and that's the whole
That's
thing.
a lot of budget you're going to cut away from building the wall. But yeah, like I said, hey, that thing get
He
built
took
yet.
some of the money from that. I don't know if it wasn't specifically from the veterans hospitals, but he took military funding and put it into building that wall.
Here's
That's a fact.
I don't think we need that much military funding, and this is coming from a veteran. We don't need that much going into it whenever all we're doing is spending $10,000 on a freaking missile. So a javelin. So for example, a javelin. A javelin missile is not one of those things that can be reloaded.
It's done. Yeah.
You shoot it, it's done. That costs $10,000 just for the missile alone. Just for the little rocket that goes straight up in the air, walks into something, and blows up. That's $10,000. Do we need billions of dollars for military funding? Probably not.
In terms of the weaponry. But the thing is that the United
It's a
States
business.
it's a military industrial complex because
Yes.
we are America after World War II overstepped their bounds and basically became the world's military. We're like if anybody
Do I think that
'cause-
we need to be policing the whole entire earth? No.
No, but here's the thing. Because of that, a lot of European countries they don't really have militaries. I mean, they do.
They
but-
rely on us.
They basically rely on us, especially the smaller countries of the EU, rely on us for their protection, and that's why it's kind of like a trade.
They look at the United Nations as a protection. And the reason that they look at us as the protectors because we supply half of the United Nations force.
We also spend more on military than the
Than
next
anybody.
And that's why
the next
also at the
four
same time
countries
Yeah.
combined.
that's also
Combined, yeah.
why at the same time we're the most advanced military.
I think is that
in the world.
can we do we say like you just said you being in there saying that you don't think we need that much money spent on there. So do we think that is just a pound in our chest thing saying
It is a
when we
pound in our
spend all that money and saying yeah look what we got
We're still in debt. Yeah, look at what we got. We're still in debt, but we're spending billions of dollars in the military fund.
military.
Like, don't get me wrong. Pay these guys that are currently serving more.
Yes,
Because they
I
aren't
agree.
making enough. I'll tell you that right now.
I
Unless
agree.
you're living on base and not paying rent or anything like that, if you're living on post and you're living it in like, as I said, if you're living on post in dorms, not paying rent, you're making a killing.
Right. If you got a family and stuff like that, you hear so many stories. I've heard many stories.
But, like, they also
about
get
families
VAH.
trying to. They're having the issues of like of just a. And I'm not trying to say like it should be way more, but it should be certain things that an army person or a person that's in the service doesn't have to worry about. Your wife back home feeding the kids. Or getting the medical stuff if you're out doing what you're doing. They should never have to go through bureaucratic bullshit just to get those things out. And I think it's very simple. Because if you got those people up in there in Congress that are making all these laws and all the bullshit that goes with it, it's very simple for them to fix it. Very simple where you say, okay, he put in his time, he did the right thing, he should not have to worry about these things. I agree, he or she, I mean,
Yeah.
they shouldn't have to worry about those
Like,
type of
now, I think I've never had a family. I've never lived off post, should I say, on an active duty military installation. But I believe they get a thing called BAH, and that basically like there's a little bit extra money whenever you have family and stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm not 100% sure, so I can't really comment on that too much. Now, because you brought up the wall thing,
Oh, bro, that was just a jab. Bro.
No,
He's
he
jabbing.
Got it,
He's
he
just
wants
mad
to
about
get on
it.
the wall.
I don't. The wall's never gonna fucking work. We all know it.
Yeah, it's just a
silly.
symbol.
Yeah.
It's a expensive bonehead symbol. Do I think we need to have a standing military up along our border in the South? Yes.
A standing that's key military because but okay, so hold on. I have two things, and I kind of want to get back away from the wall because I want to talk about the benefits because there was something I wanted to say there. But I would say that the military is the key thing because I'm saying, like, why do we have to treat people that are coming across the border as if they are coming in to kill our children? Like, why do you have to be met with a military force is what I'm
The
saying.
reason I'm saying that is because if you look at half the drugs that are entered in through this country is entered through Mexico. If you look at half the illegals that come through this country is entered through Mexico. If you look at the
Well, now, hey,
if you look at all these things, Mexico, the border on Mexico is the biggest problem. So, in saying that, the
drugs-
border needs to be.
drugs are humongous business. You think even if they put a wall, even put a military there, you think that some people would, because them drugs are just getting in here. Because who was that guy? They made like a whole show about him that exposed that the CIA and them literally set up the crack epidemic that happened in California back.
Yeah,
and then he got murdered. He committed suicide by shooting himself in the back of the head twice. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm getting murdered tonight, so I just want everybody to know that. But yeah,
No, don't say that, bro.
Hey,
Tablet.
But no,
PCP
it's a bigger picture than that. Than people, the people, like a person will say somebody like that they just got, like El Chapo. He is sitting back, still running his business, laughing at that wall.
Yeah,
That
well,
wall's not going to stop.
and that's
drugs
because
from
there's
coming
way
out.
too much. There's too many gaps. That's the thing. There's too many gaps to be able to be covered with just border patrol.
yeah.
And that's why I'm saying it needs to be military.
Well, here's what I would say.
Or create more jobs for border patrol people. You spent the money on that, and they say it's going to cost so much money
that's
to
some-
maintain it every year. Why not just create those jobs for Americans to have jobs to watch the border?
And that's another thing that the veterans could do.
There you have
Get
it.
out of the military, they join
Yeah,
the border
yeah.
patrol. I actually have a buddy that I went to basic train. No, he was AIT. I went to AIT with him. I believe he's trying to get into the border patrol right now. So that's another thing.
Now, here's what I was going to say is like we always said about the illegal immigration thing, where like they come here to take jobs and stuff, right? Who's hiring the companies? I would say the same thing about the drug thing. Drugs are getting in here not just because let's face it, if no one in this country was buying fucking drugs, Mexico wouldn't be in our government or in our government, sorry, in our country. But the thing
the
is,
whole thing
there's
is-
a
it's
big,
an
huge
epidemic.
supply. It's a big, huge supply because let's face facts that there was people that were involved in the wink wink not our government that it literally created these epidemics so then they could create a problem and then there was this relationship with Mexico where there's a demand for drugs that are made in the South American countries, in the Middle and Central American countries, that is then brought into this country because the people of our country have been either exploited and become addicted to these substances, right? Where like they didn't even know what they were. Like I said, like crack was a good example of it, and all that, and cocaine and all that jazz. Now, are we hating on all the drugs? Because my policy is, I think people should just be able to do whatever drugs they want to do, and that
Make it all legal.
make it legal, and then but you gotta deal with the
Buy some
repercussions.
crack if you want to.
But you gotta deal with the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, like, I think it plays both ways. That even if you throw a bunch of guys at that wall, there is a vetted interest between two groups, whether it's
thing
the
is-
country and
is
other
that-
people.
It's still too easy to be able to get it through because there's too many gaps that we cannot cover. We start covering some of those gaps, I think we're never going to get all the drugs out. It's never going to happen because you got guys in, the Appalachians of Tennessee that are up there just making crack and meth out of their freaking out of the trailers and everything else.
Yeah, right. I mean, I know
Meth can be made. Heck,
And
I could
meth
go.
is a
I could
big-
go to the
getting
dollar
to be
store
the
right
big
now.
problem.
Get every
Meth.
last bit of
Make a shake bottle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
every
see
last
somebody
bit
do
that
it
I
in
need.
Walmart one day.
It's that easy. We're never going to be able to get all the drugs out or keep all the drugs out. But it's about fighting half of it. So you close up the gaps. You're not going to get it all, but you're going to get most of it.
Now, I'll tell you something about this, too, is Donald Trump, you don't know it. I think I had this conversation with Coach. You don't know it, but Donald Trump has already built the wall. It's already built in his immigration policy. because he lets because he says come here legally, right?
Yeah.
Right. He says come here legally. But do you know the number of legal there's only 4 ways to get in. He's reduced that number by 4 times. So you can't even come here legally if you want to, because the waiting list is so long, because he cut the number of legal immigrants that come here by so much that for some people it's like 28 years or something crazy. 28. What's the point? I'm gonna be old and dead by the time they get him coming to America.
But the thing is, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it right. And I remember whenever he first got into office,
do it right. What's the point?
Time out.
He said time out.
Yeah,
This is an Armchair Refs. Okay, and you have overtalked me many a time. I'm just saying that what's the point if you gotta wait 28 years to get in?
Because the point is, you're gonna do it correctly. Okay. What if you aren't gonna do it correctly? You're just gonna do the wrong thing. You're gonna come here illegally, and that was the biggest problem that we had in
Why
the
do
first
they
place.
come? Why do
But
they
whenever-
come here illegally? What's the main reason why they come here illegally?
Because it's a better way of life. But the fact of the matter is, I remember whenever he first got in office and everybody's ranting and raving, oh, he's going to kick everybody the fuck out. He didn't even kick everybody out. He kicked the people out that had the criminal records that were doing the wrong thing.
I totally agree with all that. I totally agree with the moral parts.
And then
of-
heck, actually made it easier for them to get their green cards at the very beginning. He wasn't kicking everybody out. That.
But the point is, the thing that riles up people that don't know no better, and why I would think we're in a situation where the type of rhetoric is coming out of his mouth right now and America's going for it, is because people just don't really know. Why is there not being, people are saying the jobs, they're taking our jobs. We don't have jobs because illegal. But the companies, if there's no supply, there's no demand.
Exactly.
If the company, if you nipped it off at the bud and went straight to the companies and said, if you hire illegals, if we catch you with illegals, this is what's going to happen.
This motherfucker
Those
shut that
illegals
down.
won't be coming here looking for a job.
That happened in our small town. That happened in our small town. There were farms that actually got busted with illegals, and they felt the repercussions.
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
But
So-
why isn't that the forefront? Why isn't he going on the news saying that? Why isn't the government doing that, saying we're coming after you governments, like they're saying they're coming after individual
You mean
people.
industries, right?
Industries.
Yeah.
Industries coming after these people that are hiring them, because you'll see it every now and then. Oh, a raid went off and they come in and they get the people, and then they don't say, well, why doesn't this company get hell for this? Why isn't this company get hit in their pocket so hard that they won't do it again?
Because if you're a major company, it's not going to hurt you anyway. I think that's the way they look at it.
That
we all
makes
know-
no sense.
No, what I'm saying is that's the way Congress is gonna say it. If we find them, it's gonna hit them in their pockets, but it's not gonna be enough to be actually effective. They're just gonna redo it all over again.
Well, no, they're not
No,
talking
you
about
make the
fines. They're
laws.
saying there's legal, like your company, like we were just talking about the CO thing earlier, right? If you, the person who is responsible for hiring these people and knowingly knowing it and hiring these people and allowing it, you're going to the big house for corruption. You're going. It's
Oh,
not
I
like
think
it's some money.
I think that should be a thing, but it's
Yeah,
never
well,
gonna happen. That's you guys just have to understand this. It's never gonna happen.
Right, and
It's
we
never
we
gonna
kind
happen.
of understand it because
We understand. I understand clearly what it is, because the companies like it's just the rhetoric I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know what the purpose is for it, because there is jobs that Americans won't do that need to be done.
Yeah.
For like a lot of farming industry, you know that if you were in farming, there's
But
a lot of legal work in.
I
legals
was
working in
16. I wanted a car and I wanted a cell phone. My mother told me to go get a job,
Right.
so I went and got a job. That's the way it worked, and that's because I was raised differently than most of these kids are getting raised nowadays. Or heck, most of the kids that were my age whenever I was growing up, okay, they were just handed their cell phone in their car.
yeah, right. Now we just have a bunch of guys that just want to either be SoundCloud rappers or
Yeah.
professional gamers.
Exactly. So
I'm still working on it, by the way. I'm still working on it. I'm ranked number 1 million in Call of Duty in the world right now. I'm getting there.
fact of the matter is that I was raised, if you want something, you have to work for it.
Right.
And that's the way. So I don't care if I'm shoveling shit or if I'm having to push a few guys around. I don't care. Just as long as at the end of the day that I'm making enough to be able to support my family.
Now, that brings a good point, what you just said, right? So are you saying you're knocking an illegal who's just coming here to get some work done, and
raise
someone's
their family.
hiring them, and he's just getting the money for his family? He's like, you need to get a job, and he like what? Say it's like some 16-year-old kid.
If he comes through the border the correct way, I have no problem with it. If he's sneaking over and doing it illegally, I have an issue there.
Here's my thing too. How long should the vetting process take to look into an individual? Like, you know, like right now, honest to God, if some CIA jackoff was looking at me or FBI, which there's nothing to investigate. I mean, what, my porn history? God. Anyway, yeah, like I said, like there's nothing to look at. They could pull up a whole file on me. Know how often because based on this, because this thing can track you through. Because I take this bathroom every time I take a shit. Or piss, right? So they know how many times I go to the bathroom every day. They know how
So
many
they can
times
track
I
your
take,
bowel movements.
Right? They could do everything. They could literally, guy could just pull up some information off Google, track my map, and for like maybe like 3 weeks to get a general gist of how I operate, where I move, and where I go. Really that easy. So how hard is it, right? I'm just thinking about it. How hard is it to vet somebody who's from a different country and then be like, yeah, you're good, bro. Go ahead.
Depends on the country. Because you
But
also
you
have
also
to.
got to control it. I totally agree. You can't just allow people.
We
just to
cannot
come
just
in
allow
here.
everybody.
You can't do it
Oh,
because it's
that's the point.
taking away from a lot of things that
The people already in the country are
that
doing.
are already in the country that are doing the things properly. I totally agree upon all that. To me, it's not even that. It's the way that they're going about it to rile people up that don't have the knowledge to go do the research themselves to actually know what the numbers are, just for political gain. Is what I'm attacking.
Yeah.
I totally agree with. We have to put a wrap.
We have to start regulating something.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Okay. For example, okay, most people think that the 9/11 terrorists came through the border of Mexico. That's not the case. They came through Canada. Plain and simple. They came through Canada. But if you ask any other person that was trying to make an argument that on the reason why we shouldn't let people into this country, they're going to say Mexico. But the fact of the matter is they came through Canada. Either way, our border patrol, our border security needs to get a hell of a lot better. We need to start being a little bit more selective on who the fuck we're letting in here.
But also, I mean, like, let's think about like this too. A lot of the like they're saying, like we're saying, like always, like these bad people are immigrants, but America's doing a pretty fucking bang up job of growing some fucking nut
But
jobs.
that's
like,
that-
and like, are
that's
we
every
saying like
country
immigrants
in-
are the
in
problem?
general. No, that's
Most of
every
our mass
country.
shooters, for fuck's sake, are from here. They're all homegrown.
All of them are homegrown.
Exactly my point.
But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if they're the shooter. Some of these, not all of them, are also playing into the crime as well. That's what I'm saying.
I think it's a very small number of people that come actually through that process of the van. They have, if you're a criminal and you have all this money, you are not going to put yourself life in danger trying to get here.
Yeah.
It's a very small number. They are coming in different ways.
But it
like
doesn't-
if they're a real threat to our national security,
They
they're
already
not
thought
coming
about.
through.
They already thought about the
Yeah.
ways to get through. The people that are coming illegally are the people who are just looking for a last ditch effort to get the hell out of the country they hate.
So let me explain. If you ask just about any cop or any detective or any FBI agent or anything like that, it's not the top guys you have to worry about. The lower level guys are actually the more serious and more scarier people.
Because
So-
they're going to do the
They're
actual
gonna-
work. But if
yeah.
you take the head off the snake, Johnny doing all the work is,
And that's when
doesn't
he's the
have
most
nobody
dangerous.
give him orders.
Yeah, and that's when he's the most dangerous. The people that have no problem going out there and just, waxing the guy off the streets.
Well,
you know what I mean,
are we talking like waxing his carrot, or like waxing like killing him?
killing him.
Okay.
The guy. Hey, I don't like that
with ya.
vendor. I don't like that guy that just sold me that hot dog. He fucked up my order. Go fucking shoot him in the head. If he has no problem going and doing that, or taking him behind the fucking alley and kicking the shit out of him, make sure you get my fucking hot dog.
But we're
If
saying
you
we have that problem from people in our country that were born and raised here.
And I was gonna say
That's
So what-
such a small percentage of
But the
people
fact of
do
the matter,
things like
fact of the
that
matter
do.
is, if we continue to let people in as well that have that record in the UK or Mexico or say Japan or something stupid like that, we're going to just continue to create the same fucking issue.
Right.
And whenever he doesn't have the head and he's just going out there on his own, that's when they're that's when they're more dangerous.
What? Hold on. Pause. Okay, so
Wait. Okay.
Hold on. Let me finish. You're telling me 9 times out of 10, if there's someone who's looking over me, telling me I have to do something because he's got my family and they got then I'm gonna do it, right? 9 times out of 10. But the problem is, you say the person that is following this guy, right? You kill him. Who's telling him to do all these crazy, stupid fucking things? And he might even find another opportunity where he doesn't have to do that shit. Because once you get in there, you know shit. You're a cog in the machine. Hold on.
If you've been doing it for 10 years.
Let me finish. And if, like I said, that 9 out of 10, right? Like, or I'm saying 9 times out of 10, nobody is just gonna keep doing that crazy shit because most of those people are in that position. But you don't kill the snake, just cut off it at the head. You just, oh yeah, we're gonna kill the guy who's dangerous. Great. Then the head of the snake, the guy who's calling all the shots, he's gonna say, oh, I didn't get that done. Let's send in Johnny. Johnny, now you go in there and shoot that guy. Oh, Johnny, you got caught too? Okay. Enrique, you go get that. Eventually, he's just going to keep sending dudes to get the job done.
You got to take the head off the snake. It's just like the drug thing here in this town specifically.
Yeah.
They are arresting people that are using drugs and setting them up to say, just to show numbers because it's a private thing, and they just keep recycling people that have drug problems for petty sales, and they're not getting no drugs off the street. That's the same type of situation it would be.
Okay, look at it this way. If you've been doing one thing for 10 years, and that guy that's been paying your mortgage has been paying you and everything else, okay, and this is all you know, he gets taken out.
Okay.
You're probably going to be happy.
No. 9 times out of 10, these guys don't know what to do. So they revert back to doing what they've been doing for 10 years.
Okay.
So if
how big of a percentage is that? Not bigger than our own problems.
I'm sure.
It's not bigger than the shit in Chicago.
Yeah,
it's not bigger than the gangs and the problems that we have that are born in America.
I gotta say, because how many percentage of those people are illegal immigrants? Even though, like Coach said, like the gang and stuff in Chicago, especially during the summer, 30 people died last year in Chicago, murdered by other people in a weekend.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying is and we're gonna and how many people do we think are being killed by illegal immigrants? And that was just on a weekend. How many? And then what? Let's bring in mass shooters that kill maybe 2 or 4 people, every once on average.
And every show I see about something bad happening or mass killers and all that are all people from America. It's very few people say, oh, he was an illegal immigrant from Mexico.
Just about all. I'm not saying that they're going to go out, the next guy is going to walk over the fucking border is going to walk into the next AMC and just shoot up the fucking place.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not how they're moving. Yeah.
But we also have to look at it this way. Okay, people that are coming over the border that are either smuggling drugs or anything like that, most of those mules are actually nowadays, they're getting taken the fuck out. As soon as they come over the border and that pickup guy is picking them up, they're picking them up, they drop off the drugs, they tell them, we're going to take you somewhere, and we're going to make sure that you're going to be okay for the next few days until you can find some work. And then they take them into an abandoned house and they kill them.
I see that happen.
So then that's all. Then our taxpayer dollars are having to go into that because then the police have to investigate that.
See, that's another thing too.
When
people, that's something that they're getting people all hyped about. You don't think that it's worse that a company that is getting the tax breaks, that you're paying these cops, like the everyday Joe is paying, that you just said wasting our tax dollars. You don't think it's worse that companies that's hiring these people that they're complaining about, that everybody's complaining about, taking jobs and all this, and tax dollars and all this bullshit are getting these tax breaks to do this shit? That's not more outrageous than
everything's
one
outrageous.
or two motherfucking
Everything's
people.
outrageous.
We're just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand why people just don't do their research and say, wait, this. I can't just sit up. People just get hypnotized by the rhetoric instead of actually going in and doing the research.
Or even just thinking about it for more 2 seconds. Because what I'm trying to do, I'm not really, I'm trying to understand, but really I'm trying to show you that there is very big inconsistencies within the viewpoint, I think, that not that you really have, but that you don't get, because we're really sitting here talking about, these things are happening. But I'm like, how big of a threat is that? compared to the problems we have in America.
Open up the border. Open up the border and just let them start flowing through.
Why
Why
we're
would we
not
do
saying
that? We're not
don't
saying
do
that. Yeah, we're not saying
That's
that.
exactly what you're saying. If you're having an issue with them coming over and saying that they have to
No.
wait 28 years
Right.
to finally come
I'm
over,
just saying, what would be
because
the-
we're now finally getting selective again.
I'm saying, look, 28 years, what's the point? If it takes 2 or 3 years, I get that. 2 or 3 years, understand, like I said, vet them through. I'm just saying, when you say something like 28 years to me, I go, what's the point? That's all I'm saying.
But you also have to look at the workload.
But right, and I'm saying that these people, right, because I believe that for the most part, right, and this is maybe just me being hopefully optimistic. I believe most people, for the most part, because of how I walk around, are good people. Now, we do fucked up things on occasion. Do we screw up in life? Yeah, absolutely. But for the most part, most people are good people. No matter where they come from. I could have so many stories of people that I've talked to that have been to other countries, like a buddy of mine who went to not Afghanistan. Is it Kazakhstan? It's like right beside it or whatever. And like, what am I thinking of the wrong thing? What? You give me a look like you don't know.
He's like,
I've never heard of
that.
Kazakhstan.
Kai, whatever, because of the K. It's like right over by there.
Kakistan, where Sacha Baron Cohen's from.
No, maybe I don't
Well,
know.
you got Kuwait.
But it's like right above.
Or are you
it.
talking about Kazakhstan?
Kazakhstan, bingo. Sorry, I don't know. Listen, but anyway, we went over. Oh, look, man, he told me the story, okay? But, it's a place where you would think that, like, it's a hostile environment, but for the most part, all the people we met are nice. Just like Sasha, a guy we do business with, Media to Media, he was in Russia, and, Russia, you think, like, it's, like, down, like, it's like the iron fist of, like, oppression and everything, and it's really not that.
There's zero oppression. It isn't the Soviet Union anymore, okay? The
Yeah,
Soviet
right.
Union
Oh, it's
fucking
still
collapsed.
rough. Believe that.
It's still rough,
It's
but it's
rough
not.
over
It's
there.
not what it was.
It's not the red. Yeah,
okay.
I know.
Now, if you go to Afghanistan or certain parts of Iraq right now, they don't want the women and the children getting smarter. Because then they won't buy into what they're trying to preach.
Right, because it's
they
a
want to keep
theocracy.
them dumb, so that the fact that they can keep on throwing off
everybody's
everything.
philosophy that's in power. People are specifically pointing out people's things that they've been doing for thousands and thousands of years that really has nothing. Has nothing to. It won't affect America in no fucking way. To point out those things, to keep pointing out these things, and to not point out shit in our own backyard is fucking ridiculous to me, man. It makes no sense that we're saying, oh, well, they're over there in Afghanistan doing this, but we are not taking care of our shit to point a finger at any fucking body.
As said earlier, we should not be the world fucking police.
Right, at all.
Okay, at all. And I've said it numerous times. You've talked to anybody that knows me well enough. The Middle East has been tearing each other apart since the day of fucking time. If
Right.
that's what the
Before
fuck they want to do,
America was even established.
Since the first person walked on this fucking earth, the Middle East has been tearing each other apart. If that's what they want to do, let them fucking do it.
Right.
Now,
Get the hell out.
Stay out of people's
Now,
business.
all I was to finish the point I was making is that, for the most part, people are good, and I believe that they all are an opportunity to at least get vetted to go through the process and come in. Whenever you have things like where the timetable's so long to come into the country, then it's an issue. Now, I agree, because immigration's a thing that has to be monitored and has to be relegated. And then this is the last point I wanted to make, just based on what we're talking about. And we got to get close to wrapping up the show, because it's like we're probably about an hour and 10 minutes in or more. But all I was saying is that what these people like to do is like to say, look over there, the boogeyman. That they say, look, the illegal immigrants. And then but then there's things like we're talking about, like where like they're saying they're criminals, they're dirty, they're bringing in all the drugs, all that shit. But yeah, people like we're talking about in Chicago that are literally killing each other, right? And then we have school shooters that are killing people, which to me, drug use, yeah, it's a problem, but it's not as bad as people like shooting and murdering each other in our country. You know what I mean? Like and they're not illegal immigrants, I mean, maybe one or two of them were, but most of them are not illegal immigrants. So again, like that's why I bring it back to this point of we really, as a country, we have to look at what are the real big problems that really need dealt with.
What I'm saying is, if they have a criminal record, if it's more than a simple possession charge, if they got caught with some little bit of fucking weed, whatever, let them in. But if it's something more than that, why create more of an issue that we already have? because they aren't going to come over here and change what the fuck they're doing. They're going to continue to do the things that they've already know how to do, and they've already seen success in doing.
Right,
it.
and we're
in some shape or form, they've found success in doing that. So they aren't going to come over here and completely change. They're going to continue to do the things that they found success in. So
Right.
if we're already having that issue here, why would we let people in that are going to increase that issue that we already have?
No, I think everybody totally agrees. Like,
I think you're
we're
making up a
all
straw man because
agreeing.
we're all agreeing because I don't agree with those people coming here legally at all. I'm just saying that the thing is there are good people that want to get into this country that have skills
and the only
they
problem
have
is,
things.
yeah,
and I get
and the only problem is that they're being bombarded on. Okay, so you got if you go 50-50, right? You got 1,000 here and 1,000 there. You got the guys that have zero record over here, and you have guys that have records, even to the simple, possession charge. You throw those 2,000 in all together, and obviously, if they're being told that it's going to take them 28 years to, finally get through your paperwork, obviously we're undermanned somewhere.
Yeah, right. And that's what I'm saying is like you have to. I'm not saying you don't throw in more people into that department. I'm just saying that that's why you have the vetting process.
I think you need to throw more people into the department.
Yeah, right. But I mean, the vetting process isn't done by soldiers at the border. The vetting process is done by people who, which I mean, I'm not saying you don't throw people, because I could agree that you might need some more help down at the border. That's not an issue. What I'm saying though is like we're saying, oh, this is the issue, these are the problems, and they're causing it. But really, we're not looking at it like, well, there's actually a lot of good people that want to come in here and they're getting through, but they can't because Trump has shrunk the numbers. And by the way, we're not talking just about immigrants that come from Mexico or South America.
Yeah.
We're talking about Europe. We're talking about Australia.
Because
we're
we're
talking
finally
about Canada.
being 100% selective, okay, and that's what we need to do. Because during World War II, that was probably the most selective until now. I want to say that the United States government was for whenever immigrants were coming in. So, but it was all dependent on what country you were coming from. So if you were coming from Germany, you were
I
being
think that's natural.
selective. If you were coming from Japan, you were being selective. After World War II, if you were coming from any type of communist country, it was actually taking you longer to get through Paris Island than anyone else from any other country.
Which makes sense. I mean, that all makes sense.
That would make sense. Me personally, I think every single person should be. Doesn't matter what country you're from.
I think everybody totally
and that's why
agrees.
I agree.
I think we all agree on the same thing. Like we don't want people to just come over here. Should people that don't, because even we know how this shit works. Even if a person has all the, Bin Laden went to school here.
Yeah, Bin Laden. Hell,
So
Bin
let's
Laden,
speak.
Bin Laden went to school here. Fuck. Pablo Escobar came
used
here.
to come over. Chapo
Yeah.
was hanging. It's not that we're but I'm focusing on it. I don't even care about the vetting process. Do what you got to do. The process. Do what you got to do. I think if they don't have anything that's stopping them, that they shouldn't have to sit around and wait. If that's what we're about in America, letting people in, get the best of the people to come in and do that, I think their process should be different. But it's the simple fact that we just are pointing, like Deb said, we're pointing at something that has a very little effect on what's going on in our country, and it's hyping people up to where it's dividing us on, instead of saying we need to come together and figure out our issues. That's what I'm saying, because do what you got to do. I don't think people should be able to just walk into our country.
Yeah.
I don't think that at all. I think that's stupid. I think it's taking away from the things that we need to focus on. There's too much of that. Like, just handle that issue. Whatever you come up with, make it fair for the people that do deserve to come here. That stands for what America's about, like letting people come here and that type shit.
But do what you got to do to keep the bad people out. I understand that, but I don't think a wall's going to do it. But I just think that
No,
people.
as I said, I don't think the wall is going to do it either. But we need to put more manpower
Yeah,
on our border.
create those jobs. Create those jobs with that money that they're saying it's going to cost. I think it said like $5 billion a year to maintain a wall.
Yeah.
Why not take that money and create those jobs for
Create
Americans that don't have jobs?
Right, or like no one said, which I think is a good idea, vets, because that's just a
Vets,
job
yeah.
that they would fit right into.
That or just
unless-
hire private. Okay, so like private contracting is a huge thing by the United States military right now. Well, the government in general. They're giving these contracts to these private contractors to go over to Afghanistan, Iraq, and places like that. They're escorting doctors and teachers. That's their job, to escort doctors, teachers, and
Political
heck,
officials?
our one teacher at Williamsburg, he went over to go teach them farming.
Oh,
He was our ag. Yeah, he was our ag teacher. He went over to go teach them farming. Instead of doing that, maybe pay some of these private contractors just to protect the freaking border
Yeah.
as well. Give them some contracts to do that. Because, don't get me wrong, there's private contractors that are protecting those doctors and those teachers, because in countries like Iraq and Afghanistan, they don't want doctors there. They don't want teachers there.
Right.
You know.
They don't
Otherwise,
want
we're going to have
Americans there, period.
Otherwise,
Be
we're going
honest.
to have a whole other issue, just like in Africa, where we got these civilians that are going over there and trying to make it a better way of life down there, in certain parts of Africa, and then they're having to be worried about being killed every single day because they're trying to teach something, to be helpful.
Right.
Or maybe they're just a completely different race, or they're a different religion and like that, and it's all fucked up. No matter what way you look at it, our country's not the only fucked up country in the world.
No, everybody's got problems.
And that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We don't focus on their problems. We focus on ours. We defend ourselves. We make sure that we're well protected from. They try to make their problem our problem, but we go looking for these problems for political reasons, money, control, all kinds of shit. And then we just sit back and ignore what's going on in our own backyard, which can easily be fixed. There's
But-
a lot of these things that could easily be fixed.
Okay, so for example, you have that issue in Chicago. You have the issues in Detroit alone, or heck, just Michigan in general. If you get into like a major city in Michigan, you have a large amount of crime happen in Michigan. Either way you look at it. The only probably the best way that we could probably fix the issue is some partially, just like they were threatening to do in, I think, Baltimore. What was it, 2 years ago? When was Baltimore rioting? How long ago was that?
That was like 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Somewhere around
It was like
there.
right around when
They
Trump
were
became
almost about
president.
ready to martial law it.
Well, we're already in martial law.
Yeah.
People don't
but,
understand
but
that.
what I'm saying is, they were about ready to martial
They're
law.
about ready to
Yeah.
take action.
About ready to
actually
take
do
action and march the military in there.
Right.
That was the worst thing that they could have done, if you ask me. If they would have done it, that would have been the worst thing. Because some way, somehow, that would have been spun off into a negative light instead of what the actual reason that they were going in there. You see what I'm saying?
What's the actual reason?
To restore order. They were rioting, man. But the police was being overwhelmed, and they were barely able to handle it.
But you got to also look like the fixing of the problem is going into. They're not fixing the problem by going in and attacking people that are out there living these crimes. Is the corruption of Baltimore that's causing these problems. You got to go cut the heads off of the fucking snakes, man. People are we're fixing on, like in Chicago, we're looking at, okay, people are like, well, why these kids weren't raised, blah 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 blah. But have you ever lived in Chicago? Have you ever went in Chicago and seen what really happens? If you hop off that porch, once you mom lets you off that porch, that age, if you got a choice to make, and you're gonna make one of those choices to get with a gang. It's the way that the city is ran, the way that all the people in charge of all that have allowed this to happen. Is these things. We need to start attacking the policies of our shit and handle our business. I think it's very simple. But the people like if we're saying just like we're having a conversation about it and we're fairly intelligent, we go do our research. But if you got 30 people that like in this room right now that came in here that don't do no research but just watch the news and listen to what the rhetoric that's going on right now, the divisiveness, and they're what's going to happen to us three be trying to be have an intelligent conversation. What's going to happen to us if 30 people right there have it stuck in their head with no knowledge and they get in an uproar? What's going to happen to us, right? That's what's happening.
How long did it take for, the mob's still around, right? Mob, some shape or form, the mob is still around.
Right.
We have to look at it this way. It's not as big. They don't have as much control anymore. There's certain areas where they still have control. It's just a way of life. That's the way it is.
Right.
But how long did it take for them to actually get that done? It was like into the 90s, almost like into the early 2000s.
Well, it was really, but it was there.
Yeah.
All they needed to do was dust off the RICO Act way before they did. It took somebody to figure that out. Like, I think we have a bunch of morons running our country.
But the issue is not only that we have a bunch of fucking morons in certain places that they shouldn't be, okay, and we're continuing to vote these people in and giving them this power every single fucking day.
Right.
They're more established now, should I say. Okay, so like the mob ran like a company. At the end of the day, that's basically what it was. So like if you ever watched any documentary on like Lucky Luciano or anything like that, he broke it down into being a company. That the mob ran like a company. These gangs nowadays, they're not really ran like a company.
No.
Everyone's out there for themselves, so it's harder, a little bit harder, because there's no loyalty to it whatsoever. Because if you chop the head off the snake one time, that next guy's just going to pop right in. And he's going to run it completely different than the last guy did.
Well, I think the difference what you're saying is, well, for one, we really need to wrap up this show, so we're going to stop it after this little segment. But I was going to say is, the difference, though, is these gangs are run more like factions than an organized crime syndicate, which are, two different things.
Which makes it harder to cut the head off, because now there's multiple heads. Should I say?
Right, and I mean that can also happen in multiple different ways too. Because just like especially what I know of gang culture. I mean, we have Coach right here who I feel like he should be speaking on it more, but because he grew up in his hood. But I'm saying it's like it depends on where. Just basically your location, your geographic location, pretty much determines where you're gonna be, and what your values are gonna be in those particular segments and everything. But yeah, so I think we're going to actually wrap up the show here. This has been – I put that we were going to talk about sports, and we did not get to sports. But that's good.
Let it go. That's what we do. We take it where we got to go.
But this was a great conversation. And like I said, we had Nolan here who begrudgingly, looked at us like sometimes like, I'm like, hold on, let us – because we gave you the floor a lot of this time, man. You know what I mean? We gave you your fair shake, but we had to come back in here. And we had to be like, well, hold on. We had to have that fight for a minute. But as you can see, bridging the gap, that's how we handle our business, right? We don't agree? That's fine. We're just going to push the issue until we try and get to a little bit of understanding. So, like I said, we're out of here. Nolan Show, Armchair Referees Podcast. If you want to listen to some good sports talk with him and his co-host, Chip, you need to go and listen to that because it is it's phenomenal. They are two peas in a pod. They go together like peanut butter and jelly. And sometimes you hear me intoxicated from behind the computer. So,
and occasionally these guys do pop on. If you check out our first episode ever, they were nice enough to come on and be our guest hosts. And I think they've done it at least one other time.
Twice, because you had Coach on your AB, but it was kind of separate.
We did
actually video. Multiple episodes, different episodes. They've popped on with us. But check us out on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, our platform Pippa. Check out our Facebook page. We're also on Facebook. We're always uploading different stuff, videos every episode that our producer Deb puts together for us.
Whenever we added on from our media company production, by the way, the promo videos, we put those together and also the podcast. So, but as always, stay beautiful. Take care of yourselves.
Salute to the vets.
And salute to the vets. Have a good one.
Bow. All right, good shit. That's what you gotta do. You gotta have those